We are back. We are back with a great guest on the Big Idea to Bestseller podcast. We have best-selling author Jonathan K. Lowe in the house. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jake. It's great to be here.
I'm pretty excited about this. Now, I say that all the time because I'm always so excited because we have such great guests, but I know how much work you put into your book. I know how much time and effort you put into that, and I also know how great the material is. So I want
Thank
to
you.
jump straight into it. Your book's titled Keeping People Interested: How Leaders Use Marketing to Capture and Sustain Attention. And I want to just start off by the most basic fundamental question. Why did you write this book and what's it all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, to some extent, a book is a great business card. But in addition to that, I have had the privilege of learning so much through the years, through my career at multi-billion dollar organizations, with startups, with my own startups as well, through grad school. And I really wanted an opportunity to democratize that information. I love frameworks. I nerd out over it. I even have an email newsletter and articles around strategic frameworks because why not? Since I'm spending my time thinking up creating new ones as well as nerding out over those that already exist as well. They've added so much value to my life. Why not put that out there for folks as well? And so, yeah, personally, I have a goal to be an active professor someday. That's why I TA some grad school classes now. But otherwise, I'm meeting a lot of folks where they don't have a holistic view of marketing strategy. That's my deal. I fell into marketing on accident. We can dive into that in a bit if you'd like. Um, but I just wanted some resource to share with folks so they could really have more confidence and understand the next steps around how they can grow their business sustainably.
Mm. Talk to me about sustainable. Okay.
Yeah.
You use that word a lot. You use empathy. If anyone goes and buys your book, they're going to see like it's all about empathy, and that's how you kind
Mhm.
of approach marketing. Talk to me a little bit about your approach and also the accidental way you got into marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up because that really is the core philosophy of the book is to keep people interested. You have to be interested in them. And that means having empathy. Studies have shown, and my own experience has shown, that companies that try to add value at every stage of the shopping journey are the ones that end up with sustainable, profitable growth. Those who play, as Simon Sinek would write in his book, The Infinite Game, those who play the finite game, where they're constantly chasing a certain number or a certain profitability metric or market share, those that have their eyes on competition instead of adding value to the end consumer are the ones that end up failing and losing in the long run. And so it's really kind of this beautiful virtuous cycle of if you just try to help people, you will end up being rewarded with profits in the long term as well.
Mm, I love that. It reminds me of, I want to say it's like in How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Hmm.
where it talks about like the sound of somebody's name is the
Yeah.
sweetest word in the language to themselves, right? And it's
Yes,
like,
Jake. Absolutely, Jake.
yeah, yeah, yes,
Right?
Jonathan, you're the
Yes.
man, Jonathan.
Yeah.
But that is one of those things where like if you remember somebody's name, right? We're going super
Hmm.
fundamental here, but if you remember
Hmm.
somebody's name, if you remember something about them, if you can show them that you actually care and pay attention, it just goes so far because there's not necessarily an objective tied behind it other than being a great human. And I think that
Yeah.
that's a lot of what your stuff really talks about and encapsulates. And it's really fascinating to me how you've been able to kind of think about marketing in a different way than a lot of the marketers online today, right?
Yeah. 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 And so it's interesting because I very much believe in the original title of this book was going to be called Empathy Marketing because I wanted to have the world know that that is actually the most effective way to market is with empathy. And interestingly, though, it's not what a phrase that I'm reminded of is there's nothing new under the sun from Ecclesiastes in the Bible. And so I take from established frameworks and research, and a big part, and I definitely talk about it and link you to the original books as well, but I talk a lot about this jobs to be done theory. Clayton Christensen, the late Harvard Business School professor, really popularized this concept in his book, Competing Against Luck. Anthony Ulwick, who has his own organization called Stratogen, was the grandfather of jobs to be done. The idea behind this is every day we are hiring and firing products and services in our life as long as they serve a purpose or not, right? So, do you really need a kitchen knife, or do you need a beautiful way, or do you need a way to create a beautiful meal for your friends and family,
Mm,
right? The opposite of jobs to be done is marketing myopia, which an older Harvard professor talked about a long time ago, where you're just focused on yourself and your own product and your own history. Marketing myopia focuses on your own features, where jobs to be done focuses on the solution to
mm.
the problem that somebody needs solved. Right? Effective marketing is all about solving problems and making people know that a solution exists. I even talk about this in the various stages of awareness, from being problem unaware to problem aware to solution type aware categorically, to product aware, your product to most aware, and then down from there. And so uh, I I do feel that I am very optimistic, and not everybody in marketing is. I do feel that I always have the end user in mind, and not every marketer does. But also at the same time, these concepts are not completely new. They are very timeless.
I love what you're saying. I'm going to ask a polarizing question here.
Sure.
When you look online and you see Facebook ads, okay, and a lot of times this I feel like happens in the service-based world, a lot of coaches, consultants, right, people selling knowledge. You see, but you also see this with all types of companies. You see the big headlines, you see the bold claims, and
Hmm.
marketing, you can say almost anything, right?
Yeah.
But the marketing headline doesn't necessarily give the whole story or the truth. So, how do
Hmm.
you, as someone who focuses on empathy marketing, how do you view these big, bold claims that do capture the attention, but also might not be telling the whole story?
Yeah.
How do you view
Yeah.
that, and how do you suggest people get people's attention in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, I even write about this in the book. I say that bad marketing manipulates, good marketing motivates, and great marketing inspires. I
Mm,
hate manipulative marketing, and it's absolutely around. And various industries are worse. Think diet pills, right? Certain industries are worse about it. And, in general, I mean, part of the beauty about being a fractional chief marketing officer and having a crew of fractional CMOs in my collective is that we get to select who we work with, and we get to select and say yes to the organizations that we really believe in. For example, I'm working with a veteran nonprofit that is a bunch of veteran entrepreneurs who are creating programs to help empower other veteran entrepreneurs. Like, I get to say yes to that and support their mission. I think, as far as, how do you help someone? Well, for one, if you've really got a solid product, and by solid, I don't mean it has to be the top end of the line, right? Like, at the price point, every every product has its place for the amount of durability, reliability, the value it adds to people. And so I'm not saying you have to be Louis Vuitton, but Walmart adds a lot of value, and they have helpful marketing to help people understand their positioning and how they add value to people. And so I'm very much a fan of leveraging all of the little marketing tactics for the benefit of companies who are doing good in the world with their products.
mm.
And by the way, you don't have to be a nonprofit to be doing good. In case anyone is wondering, it's like, hey, how does my cup or my blender or whatever add value? Well, just by the very nature and fact that someone is trading their money for your product means you're adding value to their lives, right? So let's do it in a way that helps them recognize that you can be adding value. I write in the book as well, like, I regularly shop at Costco. If I need outdoor gear, I like the North Face. I use my Edward Jones financial advisor. What if every time I wanted to buy rotisserie chicken, I had to research again, like, where can I get a great rotisserie chicken at a good value? Like, I'm so glad to give Costco my business over and over again. And so I think that's part of the value of brands having good marketing too.
Mm.
If nobody knows you exist, you will have $0 in sales. So you need to be made known.
Okay, this is great. I like where we're going with this. Let's talk about some tactical things. Okay. And in your book, you break this down so beautifully. But for the people listening right now, how do we first get somebody's attention, right? And
Yeah.
let's break down like what are some things that people, if they're in marketing roles right now, if they're CEOs and they're trying to be known, because we know that so many people have such great things to offer, have such great value, but if nobody knows who they are, you're not going to have sales, and that's what you're just talking about. So, what can we do? What are some tactical things that people can do from a marketing standpoint that could start to garner the attention? And then, of course, we're going to break it down of how do we keep that attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the book, I take the marketing funnel as a baseline framework. And I even talk about how, hey, real humans don't always work linearly. I recognize that. But this concept of the funnel of unawareness to awareness, consideration, purchase, and then I always also add repeat and advocate, right? Understanding that more people will be in an awareness phase and fewer that are your loyal advocates is helpful to understand the general journey. And so my unique perspective and the framework I build into this book, and I'll even flip to it, um, is that you need to that in order to help transition people between stages of the funnel, there is a core need to be met. So from unawareness to awareness, the core need is inspiration. And so for each one of these transitions, there's an implication for your brand. If somebody needs inspiration, the implication is capture attention. From awareness to consideration, users need confidence. Your implication is build trust. From consideration to purchase, the need is ease, and your implication is drive action. Purchase to repeat, satisfaction, create delight. Repeat to advocate, purpose, and a spark evangelism.
Hmm.
So getting a little more tech, and that's how the book is framed up, is essentially there's a chapter on each of those five transitions, and then a bonus chapter 7 that's like the if you are a startup or a solopreneur and just need a holistic strategy, just start there, and I won't even know you didn't read everything else. But very tactically, here's where I'd start. Start in the middle of the funnel. And by middle, I mean a lot of people say it's the end, essentially at purchase. Because if someone is willing and ready and looking for the solution you would provide, any minor increase and improvement in your marketing can make an immediate difference to your revenue. And so, for example, for e-commerce websites, if you have a 3% conversion rate, getting that up to 3.01 might mean a lot of dollars for you immediately. Where higher or lower in the funnel, an improvement may take more time to turn into revenue. So very tactically, what does that mean? Again, for example, on an e-commerce site, what does your checkout process look like? What is the user experience? Do you have clear call to actions? Do you make it easy for folks? Right? How do you reduce friction? That is a great place to start for many companies.
Okay, I like that. I think it's really interesting because so many more people are not yet ready to buy, but the people that are already getting to that stage, well, we just need to convert them, and that could massively change the business,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Imagine, Jake, right? For if someone's already visited your website multiple times because somehow your marketing, social media, like it got them there, they've already added products to cart and they're just not quite sure. I mean, wouldn't you rather spend your time engaging with that person than someone who doesn't even know they have a problem to be solved yet related to your product?
Totally. Totally. I
Right.
mean, I think about it like in my business, right? Like the person who is already looking at companies about writing a book or people
Mhm.
who are already like, I'm writing my book, but I need help with it. That's
Yeah.
that's someone who's at a different stage than the person who's like, I don't even know if I should think about a book. Like why would it even help me out, right? Like
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are different people at different stages of their journey. Obviously, I'm in a service-based world versus a product-based world, but like what you're saying is so valuable. Now, let me flip that question for you. Maybe it's the same answer. When it comes to content creation, right?
Mhm.
Because whether you're a brand or an individual, you're often, leveraging content in today's world to drive a lot of your marketing and to supplement your marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
What Where do you suggest people put the majority of their content efforts? Is it around that person who's already at the conversion purchase stage, or is it more around the general bigger market, which is more at that beginning stage? How do you define the content side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you're referencing one of the graphics in my book, but I've got it pulled up as you brought it up. So I actually talked through a content matrix, and I'll show it here on screen and then talk through it a bit too. So essentially, it can be helpful to view, and again, this is me in frameworks, and I did not come up with this, but it's very helpful to understand customer needs on one axis and then company needs on another. So the customer has needs from that are rational, and customer has needs that are emotional. And companies, to make it a little simplistic, right, have an awareness and a conversion kind of a need. So on that matrix, then there are four kinds of content. For emotional awareness, you need to create content that's entertaining. For rational awareness, create content that's educational. For emotional purchase, you need inspiration. And for rational purchase, you need convincing content. So again, it comes down to pieces such as where's your greatest opportunity? Do you have a lot of traffic to your site already, but people aren't buying? Well, then you need more convincing type content, right? Has nobody even heard of the category of your product? Well, you need entertaining and inspiring content. And depending on where you already are very strong, yeah, continue to lean into that, but also make sure you're filling in some of the other pieces as well and be strategic about how you're leading people closer and closer to that purchase decision.
Mm. Come on. It's like you know what you're talking about, man. This is great. It's like you wrote a
I've
book
learned
on
a
it.
lot, and yeah, I know.
So let's talk a little bit about the book experience. I've had so much
Mhm.
fun working with you and helping you get to this stage. And when your book came out, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you trumped so many big names in the marketing space with your book, and we'll get there. But I want to know, like, for you, as you're going through this experience of writing your book,
Mhm.
what for you was the biggest aha moment or the moment where you were like, this is real, holy smokes, it's actually happening?
Oh man, it's actually happening. I think was probably chatting with you and deciding, hey, we're gonna do this for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, all right, so I've got some deadlines, like I've got accountability that's so helpful, right? In order to complete such a daunting project. I've got some accountability, I've got someone in my corner, and he's expecting me to make progress, right? So that I mean, that was a bit of a, oh, I know I'm doing this. But as far as like an emotional, hey, this book is really a thing now, oh man. It's hard to not jump all the way to the opposite end because of the experience because my world is so digital, right? So many of my clients are virtual and so much of my work is virtual. My
Yeah.
wife even is like, what is marketing? You're is after we watched the Barbie movie, where Ken's job was beach, she's like, Jonathan, your job is couching computer. Like, what do you even do? When I first got the author copy and there was a physical product to flip through, I mean that felt so real. And I even shot an unboxing video with, a genuine and I thought it might be the case. I didn't know how intense the reaction would be, but there was, oh my God, this is real.
Isn't that one of the greatest feelings though, seeing the book
Yeah.
for the first time and just holding it and you're
Yeah.
like, whoa, this is great. All right, so let's talk about your launch a little bit, and then I want to get back into marketing tactics. For
Yeah.
your launch, something that we wanted to make sure is that you really were set up for success, right? And you're in the business space. There's a lot of business books. There's a lot of business authors. For you, what were some of the things that you did during your initial launch that you found to be the best use of your time and drive early sales?
Yeah. What's interesting is my brand for my fractional CMO business does not have a big following. And I do not have a very strong personal brand either. And part of the intent with the book is to really create a platform to jump off of, including, one of for all you business folks out there. I mean, this book, every every page is like 5 to 10 content ideas for you, right? So you put in the effort once and you can create content forever from this. I literally am considering just pasting in the next section into LinkedIn, right? Like every day. Um, but yeah, so as far as what worked, there are a few things that we did, and really what unexpectedly made the difference was having a few people really in my corner and advocating on my behalf. And that just takes me back emotionally to just thinking that someone's spending, some people spent hours of their day on my behalf, messaging their friends and contacts, asking them to help out and support and buy the book and leave a review. And that was actually really important too. Not only, I mean, emotionally, but when you look at the numbers, and I even posted on LinkedIn today, a very transparent, here's a screenshot of my sales and a little bit of the story of, right, the best-selling categories that it hit. But by the time I hit the bestseller on one and two on various categories and two on a couple and four and five on some others, I only had about 150 or so sales, which means every one of those people that got me 10 more sales made a huge difference. And
Yeah.
so, yes, I did a launch party. We can dive into that too. Yes, I personally messaged hundreds of people. Yes, I did prepare and had lists of people that were already ready. But what made the difference in the last bit of it were those people I did not expect to go on my behalf and spend a couple hours that day asking folks to help.
It's one of the most beautiful things that
Yeah,
that happens because it's hard to think that people are going to take so much time out of their day to support you on something that you're passionate about.
yeah,
And it means the world. And I mean, every time I've ever launched a book, and every time an author launches a book, there's somebody that comes out of the woodwork that you didn't expect to support you in a way that you couldn't have imagined. And it's
mhm,
it's such a powerful thing. Um, and like we can nerd out about numbers and sales and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, like I think launching a book is so much about the accomplishment, the emotional side of things that allows the book to become real.
yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing. And so for somebody like you who is a marketer, okay, you marketed your book, you did right, you hit bestseller status, you topped some very popular marketing authors. What what have you learned about marketing as you've written a book on marketing?
Ooh, fascinating. Well, one thing that it really reinforced is how important good customer research is throughout the process. As I mentioned, my book was going to be called Empathy Marketing. And in my brain, that was a pithy term that people had not used. I believe I came up with it, though I'm sure if you Google it, some other folks have kind of used that term a bit here and there. Nobody really owned it. And I thought it was a nice angle for my bringing forward my philosophy and all that I've learned. Well, I brought it up to folks, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, cool." And there wasn't that spark there, right? And I realized that the term empathy marketing might be better for marketers, but not actually the people I was really wanting to help with the book, who are founders and leaders themselves who don't have a marketing background. Obviously, if you're a marketing director, I think you can learn a lot from here and really accelerate your career. But I wrote this for non-marketers. And so, why would a non marketer read something so niche as a subcategory within marketing if they're trying to get a holistic view of it? Right. And so, I did a bunch of research, a bunch of brainstorming. I did multiple rounds of surveys, a lot of interviews with folks, and ended up landing on this new title, which I did not even like at the beginning. I believe I remember I was with a group of friends sitting around my couch just talking about the process, and I don't know if I came up with it in that moment or just like an hour or two before. Like, oh yeah, and how about like I thought about keeping people interested. It's the only KPI that really matters. Ha ha ha, right? People loved it. I'm like, wait, do you really love it? Or are you just like laughing because it's clever? And I again, I did more research. This was what the one that resonated with the most. Also, even with people that didn't understand the KPI pun yet, they thought keeping people interested. Yeah, that's what I need out of mark. That's what my business needs. Great name. I get it. Like, all right, like I want to learn that, how to keep people interested. That was already interesting to them. And so I had a lot of data to just back the concept. And it's interesting I do this and do customer research for brands all the time. It's interesting experiencing it for myself too.
Yeah, I have quite a few follow-ups, but I want to do one tactical one here. If you can share, what are some of your favorite sites to do research on when you're working with when you're working with a company on customer research?
Well, so I write about what I have termed the qual quant feedback loop or research loop. And essentially, it's doing qualitative research and then quantitative research and continually iterating on that. By qualitative, I mean interviewing people, just talking with your target customer and understanding their process, their problems to
Yep.
be solved, their shopping process. Quantitative, then being to field research. where you get numbers back. You use qualitative to understand the dimensions. You use quantitative surveys to understand the importance, right? And so for qualitative, there's, usertesting.com. There's a lot of platforms you can leverage that allow you to have a panel of people you interview. On the quantitative side, Qualtrics is famous, Survey Monkeys around. Prolific and Dynata are like more platforms where you can get a panel, even though you field it on like Google Forms or something, right? I mean, practically, if you're a startup and trying to do it for free or cheap, use Google Forms. Um, and then if you're really well established, you definitely want to do like full on 5,000 people pieces of research and leverage all those panels to your advantage.
I'm curious here because you had mentioned when you came up with the title, you kind of chuckled, right? The only KPI that matters. How much of your personal belief when it comes to marketing is about being clever versus
Hmm.
clear? And should they do they have to be mutually exclusive or can they be one and the same? So like what are your thoughts related to clever versus clear
Yeah.
when it comes to messaging and marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I want to give the answer that it's both, right? And what's interesting is we often feel like things are bifurcated. It must be one or the other. My favorite metaphor, and it actually interestingly, I realized I didn't put this in the book, but I'm obsessed with it, is this idea of, hey, if I drew a circle on a whiteboard and I drew a rectangle on the whiteboard and I told you they were the same thing, you would say, no, Jonathan, they're not. You fool, right? Like one's round, one has right angles. And in the world of the whiteboard, that is true. But if you're able to take a step outside of the two dimensions and look at a cylinder, hey, from one angle, one perspective, something is a circle, and you turn it 90 degrees and you're looking at a rectangle. And what's fascinating is in this three-dimensional world, it is fully both. Not just it's not an ellipse, it's not something in between, but a single object can be both fully a circle and fully a rectangle if you're just able to see it from that broader perspective.
Mm,
So is it clear or is it clever, or is there a way to find some, solution that is both? I'm always going to offer the both and.
I love that. That was a great answer. I like the metaphor. What what is something about marketing that people maybe don't know but they should know? Or what is a question maybe they people don't ask when it comes to marketing that would help them be better at marketing?
Hmm. I mean, this I may sound like a broken record, but that's the point. You've got to ask the perspective. You've got to take on the perspective of your end customer. Produce whatever you're going to produce, and then like put on the hat of, say, I'm engaging with this now. What do I think of it? Is it actually engaging? Does it actually arrest my attention? Is it actually clear? Or is it all sorts of inside speak and language that nobody would actually understand unless they were already the expert, which you're
Mm,
probably not selling to, right? And so I want them to ask, hey, what would my target customer think? Just
mm,
constantly be asking that. I write about this in the book as well. At one of the big companies I worked for, we literally had these translucent chairs that had a big label. It was like red print that just says customer. And they were in a lot of the meeting rooms. And the point was to visually remind ourselves that the customer needs to have a seat at the table. And as you're working on a product or marketing or sourcing, whatever it is, the point is to visually think through, hey, if the customer was sitting here right now, what would they think about what we're talking about? And are we serving them well? Does this end up helping them? So I would ask, what does the customer think?
that's good. If somebody's here and they're like, all right, I need I'm getting the book, but I need something to do this week. I want to improve my marketing right away.
Yeah.
Where's the first place they should go? Or what's the first thing
Chap-
that you would recommend them doing?
well, if you got the book, go to chapter 7, right? And so the way this is framed is there's an intro, and then chapter 1 is all about the history and philosophy of marketing. And then the next 5 of them, 2 through 6, are the bulk of the content around the transitions, right? Capture attention, build trust, etc. I thought maybe my next book would be about what I created, the SALT framework, which is an acronym for strategy, alignment, levers, traction. It's a very practical framework to be holistic about your marketing. instead of writing another book, I was just thinking, it'd just be more helpful to folks if I threw it in an abbreviated version at the end of the book. And so I did. So I would recommend anyone who's just trying to really get their grasp around marketing, just start at chapter 7, read and understand holistically everything. And you will undoubtedly notice a couple pieces throughout where you are potentially, may I say, deficient or have an opportunity, right? One and the same. That really stand out to you. It's like, oh my gosh, you're right. If only I had a stronger values alignment, my staff would be less confused, and we would spend hours less in meetings about something that I thought was so clear. We just
Right.
need to templatize that. Or, oh man, you're right. Like I have all these customers that bought from me once. There's a huge opportunity in loyalty programs and getting repeat purchases. That's where I need to focus. You will notice something that is helpful for you.
Okay, I'm going to be careful here because we're running out of time, but this brings up a question that a lot of people debate in the marketing world. Do you spend more time focusing on, and the answer is it depends, right? But
Yeah.
do you find that people should be spending more time building awareness and being known, or more time on increasing conversions from the customers they already have to build the repeat
Yeah.
customers, and then
Yeah.
the advocates as you describe them in your book? What's your take on it?
Yeah. In one of the early episodes of Office, Michael Scott learns that Ryan Howard, the temp, is in business school. And he's like, Ryan, quiz me on something. Because, Michael Scott is like, I'm such a businessman. I didn't need to go to school. I know all these things. And Ryan asks, okay, is it more efficient to retain a customer or to score a new customer? And Michael falters. He doesn't know. Dwight, overhears and says the right answer. Michael says the wrong one. And Ryan's like, no, it's like 10 times more efficient to retain a customer than to acquire a new one. And I looked it up. I was like, is that true? That number seems pretty dramatic, and found I think, some Harvard research that was like, yeah, depending on industry, it's like 2 to 15 times more efficient to keep a customer, to have repeat and loyalty than to acquire a new one. So I would absolutely start with your current customer base.
Mm, I love it. All right, there's been a ton of nuggets in here, man, and like I hope everybody grabs a copy of the book, Keeping People Interested. How do we support you? How do we work with you? How do we work with your collective of fractional CMOs? How do we get the book? Tell us all the good stuff here, and we'll make sure to link it up too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me just start sharing as well, Jake. I'm so grateful for you, and for your help through this process and your big idea to bestseller. I don't think I would have started this um, project if it wasn't for you and your book inspiring me, and then our meetings and subsequent progress. Best ways to support me are, of course, one, buy the book. Available on Amazon. Just search Keeping People Interested. It will pop up. Available on Kindle and on paperback. Leave a review. That would be very helpful. If you want to connect with me, did create an author website, jonathankalo.com, and there's plenty of ways you can connect with me there. Find me on LinkedIn. I'll respond if you say that you read my book. I get a lot of sales. I say if you mention the book, because I'm already getting sales folks a week into launch of, hey, your book looks so interesting. And they use that as the tie of like, your CRM was pretty smart, but if you actually read the book, I will respond to you. And
Yep.
then otherwise, if you need marketing help, marketing strategy with my collective, saltfoundrystrategy.com, you can learn all about the various fractional CMOs we have servicing multiple industries. I'm very strong at e-commerce. We've got folks in B2B SaaS, financial services, luxury goods, all sorts of. And then I'm the admin of a WhatsApp group of like 80 fractional CMOs. So we can get you connected. So those are a few of the various ways you can connect.
Awesome. Well, I want to make sure everybody grabs a copy of your book because I know the amount of effort you put into this to make it special, to make it perfect for you. And you did such a great job, Jonathan. Like, it was such a privilege to be able to guide you and work with you on this. And we went back and forth a ton of times. And, I commend you for honoring, what you really stand for and what you really believe in this book. And I think it's a well done book on marketing that has a unique perspective relative to some of the other marketing books out there. And I think that's so special in today's world So great job on that front. And everybody grab a copy of Keeping People Interested. You won't regret it. And here's my challenge to everybody here as we get ready to wrap up is kind of identify where in your funnel, right? And you can re-listen to this, you can get it from the book, but like where in your funnel do you think is the biggest opportunity for you? What area are you deficient at, or is there an improvement opportunity for you? As Jonathan said, identify that for yourself and then make one change this week to be better at that one thing. A little effort can go a long way. And I appreciate you, Jonathan, and I appreciate everybody for listening to this. And that's a wrap on today. So, Jonathan, I will see you next time. And everybody else, I will see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.